set limit on how many times a person relapses or hit a speed bump. But what I say is, there's two groups of people that will test you first when you say that. It'll be your close friends and it'll be your family members. When you go back and you say, nah, man, I'm good. Nah, I'm good. They will be the first one to say, hey, man, come on, man. Come on, let's go smoke this. They will be the first ones to test you. And so sometimes we hear, and David, you may have heard this as well too, we have to cut ties with people. Friends, family members. That doesn't mean forever. It just means now. And so until we are strong enough to where we can hopefully resist. When I was in a mission, there was a saying, and they used to say, you spend enough time in a barbershop, you will get a haircut. Meaning, you hang around people that are trying to get you something to do something that you used to do that you don't want to do, you will say no a few times, but you keep hanging around there, eventually they're going to catch you on a bad day and you're going to say yes, right? And so, excuse me, and so when you hear people say, must be somebody's birthday, and so when you hear somebody say cut ties, that doesn't mean cut ties with everybody. The misconception is, I have to shut everybody out. I have to do this. If you shut everybody out, you are never going to make it. And here's the reason why. Because we know in the Bible, God says that the enemy, Satan, likes to attack us as if he was a lion, right? Mm-hmm. Now, when you watch a lion, when you watch a herd, a pride, whatever they're called, how do they attack?
They wait till you away from the people. Till the other animal is somewhere away from the herd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they start out with the herd, but then they look for that one that makes a wrong turn, right? The herd went this way, this person dipped this way. Oh, shoot, they made a wrong turn. Now they're by themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Now the lion's going after them. Mm-hmm. When we isolate ourselves away from everybody and try to do this ourselves, we have just separated ourselves from the herd. We have nobody to help us. Because I guarantee you will have a day where you have a rough day, you work a double shift, you're tired, you're not thinking clear, you haven't eaten right, and there is nobody there to say, David, no, come on, man, you're 90 days clean, man, let's get it. You don't need to do this. There's nobody there to do that. Mm-hmm. We have to surround ourselves with people who are like-minded, who are trying to
David, close that door so we can hear, please.
All right. You must switch it up a little bit, man. We can't separate ourselves. When we separate ourselves or isolate ourselves, we have just put ourselves in a position to where we are going to be attacked, because there is nobody there that can help us in those moments when we are tired and we don't have enough sleep. So we have to surround ourselves with like-minded people. This is not a lone wolf, I can do it by myself thing. It will never work, all right? So when it comes to stigma, it's all about person-first language as opposed to what somebody's going through. We typically see person-first language in a medical setting, right? We don't say there is, high cholesterol, whoever. We say there is John, and he happens to have high cholesterol or high blood pressure. We see the person first, and then we address and we see what that person is going through. Same principle when it comes to somebody active in recovery or substance use. We see the person, and then we address whatever they're going through, right? And so harm reduction is something that is huge. David, have you ever heard of harm reduction?
Yes, sir.
What do you know about it? I'm just gonna pick on you for a second. What do you know about it?
Harm reduction. Just stay away from cut people out your life that be using and stuff.
Okay.
Some of the places you can go.
Yep. Harm reduction, you're right. Harm reduction is all about making it safer, right? This is where people have issues with people that don't have a recovery story, who don't get it. This is where they have issues. And there's 3 words that people have issues with. These 3 words here: syringe, service, program. That is where people have issues with. Because, do you know, any of you know the name of our SSP or service provider here in Davidson?
Yeah, who?
Do you know who our SSP is? And David, you ever heard of StreetWorks? StreetWorks is our SSP, our surrender service program. Anybody can go there. I give them over 400 boxes of the 4 milligram dose, and give them over 400 boxes of the 8 milligram dose that they give out for free, no questions asked every week. But they also give out condoms, lubes, tourniquets, pipes, and needles. They give out reeds for people, right? That is where people have an issue. I trained all the sheriffs last year, and this year I'm doing probation and court system. Sheriffs will come up to me afterwards, and I can't tell you how many times, and they go, look, I hear what you're saying, I hear it, I understand it, but I'm still not buying into it. I don't see how giving somebody the tools to keep doing what they're doing is making a difference. My response every single time was this: if you truly care about the people that you are working with, you have to recognize, one, that you can't force anybody to do anything, right? And two, because that person will very well know, or may very well know, that they need to stop whatever it is. However, today is not the day. It may be tomorrow, it may be next week, but today is not the day. If today is not the day, what's the next best thing that we can do for that person if we truly care about them? Make it safer. That is what a harm reduction is. Harm reduction works because we are meeting that person where they are today, and we are not forcing that person to do anything. My colleague, my coworker that's on our page, Jeremy, he will tell you he would not be here today if it wasn't for an SSP where he lived at, right? And so, people think that, sometimes people think two things. They think it's difficult and extremely difficult to see a person, see or watch that physical decline, right? Grab them by the wrist and say, you're going to recover. You don't see what you're doing to yourself, you're killing yourself, you don't know what you're doing, you're going to recovery. They think that is difficult, and they also think it's tough love. I tell them they're wrong on both accounts, right? And here's the reason why. It's because, and I'll speak for me, at some point in my mess, at some point in my addiction, when I was in my craziness, I lost the ability to see myself. I didn't see myself, I didn't smell myself. I don't know if it was a self-preservation, but I couldn't see myself. Everybody else could, right? And so here's the thing that is infinitely more difficult, is to watch that physical decline of somebody you're working with and not force them to go to recovery. You look at them and go, oh man, they're looking rough. But not force them, meet them where they are today, love them through it, and hope and pray that they come to before it's too late. That is what a harm reduction is. We are meeting that person today. That is infinitely more hard than forcing somebody to go. That is the easy way. It is so much harder to watch that physical decline, meet them where they are, and not force them, but hoping that they come around before it's too late. But that is what harm reduction is, and that's why it works. And when it comes to MAT clinics, or medicated assisted treatment, there's usually two groups. There was a group over here that's strongly for it, right? Then there's a group over here that's strongly against it. Most cases, the group over here strongly against it, their one leg they try to stand on is, well, you're just swapping one medication, one drug for another. You're not doing anything. It's not helping anything. MAT clinic has a much broader and a much greater purpose. The primary thought of somebody active in substance use is this: my next one, where am I gonna get my next one? How am I gonna get my next one? I could be having a conversation with you, answering you. The whole time, my thought is my next one. That's it. MAT clinics, aside from, yes, physically weaning that person off the substance, it also helps remove the cobwebs and the fuzzy-headedness that somebody goes through when they're active. If somebody is able to think more clearly, they're more likely going to make better what? Decisions. That is one of the biggest benefits of an MAT clinic. It helps remove the cobwebs and the fuzzy-headedness so that we can hopefully start making better decisions. We can start thinking about family, friends, jobs, hygiene, all of that stuff, health, right? And I'll just be transparent. I've been clean and sober since 2007. I am just now getting to the point to where I am doing what they call self-care, right? And so just because you may be clean and sober for years, you still have things that you deal with as a result, right? And so for me, going to the doctor, going to the dentist. I went to the dentist for the first time in over 15 years last week. I know that sounds crazy, but it is a process. It is never oh, I'm good now, right? When people tell me, man, I don't even think about it anymore. Man, I'm good for 2 years. I don't even think about it. I'm like, what? I'm like, I've been clean since 2007. I still think about it. You will never stop thinking about it, right? It is always present. It is just how you respond to it is completely different. And so that is why we have to have safety nets around us, family and friends that we can reach out to, that we know we can call or we can text and get a hold of when we do have moments of weakness. We also have to have things in place because I can't take something away from you without replacing it with somebody or replacing it with something, right? You've been taking a substance for years. You feel like you have to have that to feel normal, to deal. I can't just start weaning you off of it without replacing it with something. We have to replace it with something. What is it? Working out, reading a book, writing, journaling, what is it? We have to replace it with something. We can't just expect to take it off or take it away from that person without giving them something. And so for me, again, transparent, yesterday was my second appointment at the dentist. So my mouth is a little tired and a little sore. Thursday, I'm going to the podiatrist for my foot. And so for me, that's a huge step, because self-care is huge, right? And so this is always a process. And so there is never, and the reason why I say that is because sometimes people think that, once I'm clean and sober, once I've made it for an extended period of time, I should be normal, right? Well, what's normal, right? Each person has their own normality, right? There's certain parameters that society says we should fall into, but each person is going to be completely different. We should not be trying to compare ourselves with the norm. We should be trying to compare ourselves with, if we have faith, how God sees us and align ourselves vertically with Him. But then also, we need to have a true identity of who we are, and that is different for each person. And so each person's walk, each person's road on their recovery, each person's longevity in recovery will look completely different. And so different people will come across different things, right? Like one of my coworkers, when they got clean and sober, self-care was immediate, right? Each person is different, but they struggle with something else where I didn't. When I became clean and sober, that thing they struggled with, I was good with. And so there's just gonna be